Hello, everyone. My name is Shani Jones, and this is KNKY, which stands for Know the New Kinky You. I am your resident certified sex coach, and we are here to continue our conversation about some of the most common issues and concerns that we have as people. But this particular video segment series is focusing on the concerns that men have. And we've talked about several so far, and we are moving on to the topic of sexual inhibition. Now, to be inhibited is to be repressed, to be uncomfortable, to lack confidence. It's all of those things. So when we're talking about it in the context of sex, it really means that the practice of sex, the conversations around sex, um, it's just not in that person's realm of this is this I'm not used to this. I'm uncomfortable. This doesn't make me feel like perhaps everybody else feels. Now, the way we deal with this, there is difference. It does differ between men and women. So again, we're focusing on the men right now. So where does this inhibition come from? And you probably like, oh, I don't know anybody like that. Maybe you do. Like there are certain people who I know that just can't say the word sex out loud. You can't talk about it around them. You get, oh, why? They shy away from it. I'm like, most of those people ain't my friends. So, but I do know some. How does it come about? Well, most of the time it comes as part of our development as young people, as children coming up. And so what we find is that, especially when you're working as a coach, you kind of go back and you're like trying to figure out how these images and messages as children impact you as adults, because we all know that it does. So if you have negative sexual messages, those things take root in your head and they carry over as adults, where you might have heard something to the effect of, whether it be based on some type of religious stance or cultural, social, your family ethics. Maybe you heard good boys don't touch themselves. You'll go to hell if you have sex before you get married. Being ridiculed or laughed at if you were caught masturbating. Perhaps witnessing a traumatic sexual encounter, like having seen someone get raped, or having seen someone being molested, or you being molested yourself, having those negative, so that'll fall under sexual trauma, but those messages and images are definitely things that contribute to someone not being fully comfortable in sexual conversation and sexual activities. So, there's also a common cause is long-term virginity. So if somebody, and I always think 40-year-old virgin, it's not common. It's not common, but it does happen that we have people who, as adults, have chosen not to engage in sexual activity, and for various reasons. But when you are older and you haven't perhaps established the skill set that matches the person that you are, maybe one day going to be interested in having sex with, that can be intimidating. And, you can, that inexperience can help deaden your lack of imagination. So you're either overthinking or underthinking because you don't have the experience. And again, the negative sexual experience is if, let's say, someone talks shit about you because you came too early, or you didn't do something, or they didn't think your penis was big enough, or all of these things, especially if you have in a relationship where you are either not providing sexual gratification and they're willing to say it out loud and on a regular basis. If you're getting those negative messages in your head, you're not going to be, oh, well, I'm great. I'm great. No, you're going to shy away from it. You're not going to want to engage in it. It's not going to be something that makes you happy and brings you pleasure. So that inhibition is something where you need to recognize it and figure out what is contributing to it. So how do you figure this out? So we talked about sexual intelligence a bit, and sexual intelligence is really about focusing not just on performance-based skill, but focusing on the ability to understand what makes your partner happy, what makes you happy, make sure that y'all are communicating and working in tandem. But sex is still a physical act. So even though it's not just about skill, it's about skill. So understand that you have to change yourself mentally as well as physically. You can't just say, I'm going to have sex for hours and hours and hours if your typical masturbation pattern or sex pattern is to come within 5 minutes. No, you have to practice with stamina. You have to try to, set a goal, reach the goal, extend the goal. You have to practice, whether it be by yourself so that you can, again, understand what that sexual response cycle looks like, or you have to find a partner that you're comfortable with, that you can communicate with, that you can try new things with, that can help be a teacher for you. I know that some people, they don't want to teach, but at some point, for everybody that thinks they the shit, you were a virgin and you had to learn how to please your partner. Not everybody works the same way. So you need to invest in your partner's happiness. So, just again, take the pressure off. If you had those religious or spiritual negative messages that were being taught to you as a child, or if you are fearful, if you have a lack of sexual identity, you might want to go slow. Definitely go slow, but you have to let go of any of those repressive thoughts and feelings, because if you continue to carry things from your childhood into your adulthood that are impacting you negatively, you're not going to let them go because they've already been so buried. So depending on the severity of the problem, you might want to go talk to a therapist, and you might want to go put yourself in a situation where you're like, I don't want to live the rest of my life like this. How can I do better? How can I be a better person? How can this thing be not so scary and be enjoyable for me? So think about it. You can always work with a coach. Send me a message if there's something that is a concern for you and you just needed to figure it out. You can book a session with me and we'll work it out. But yeah, let go of that shit. Those messages, they're never going to do you any good. And I'm sure if it's impacting your sex life, it's impacting other areas of your life. So let's get over that together. We can work on it. All right, guys. I am Shani Jones. This is KNKY, which stands for Know the New Kinky You. I'm your resident certified sex coach, and I appreciate you for joining me. You can follow me across all social media at DOYOUKNKY. Appreciate the likes, the shares, the comments, the subscriptions, all of the posts. Thank you so much. Leave your comments. Feel free to share your stories. I appreciate when you do. Thank you so much, and I'll see you again soon.